Welcome, everybody. Today we have a very exciting, exclusive interview. We've been waiting for years for this one. Actual years to get this band together. I have Ali Parzak Hamaneshi and Prince Jamie L., the two legends of the Third Crusade.
Oh, yes.
Welcome. So, first of all, how we doing today, boys? Jamie and Ali, how everything going? It's been a while.
Yeah, I've missed Jamie, man. I haven't seen Jamie in years. He's been I don't know. He's probably been plotting his revenge all this time.
Well, I've been undefeated all these years. That's the big question. That's the big point out of here. I've been undefeated. Who's took my plaque? Who's moving that plaque? The first plaque? No one's moving it. So that's what we need to talk about.
So for you guys that don't know, Jamie was the first king of Jerusalem back in 2016 or something, and Ali was the second, and they were rivals. They would rally a bunch of men and go back and forth taking Jerusalem from each other way back in the day. Jamie was King Richard, but he was also at one point he was Saladin. He was both, and Ali was Saladin. But they both were going back and forth, and then I was the assassin leader. So us three would battle each other pretty bitterly for hours on end, negotiate, and then we had the infamous TTC council chat, which, if you guys think people yap now, that was just a yap fest, nonstop debate. It was like an Irish government forum or something like that. It just didn't stop, which has now been disbanded. But these two have come back. Between the three of us, we have built probably 90% of Lionheart's level design of all the builds in Lionheart's between the three of us. If you included Ryder, it'd probably be like 95% or more. So you've got 3 of the 4 Mount Rushmores of building on Lionheart's, or heads on Mount Rushmore, rather. So first of all, Jamie, I'll start the questions off with you. And if you guys want to get into a debate, that's fine. We'll see where this goes. But Jamie, as the first king of Jerusalem, what do you make of your legacy in the time since you've left? I mean, are you proud of the legacy you've left?
I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy with how it ended, to be honest. It's a bit bittersweet because I would have loved to stay around for a lot of what's come, to be honest, especially just the past years, because I left pretty much after Eva finished building or finished the scripting, I think, if that's right. So there's loads of leaders that I've seen come and go that I would have liked to go up against, but just it's never happened. But to be honest with you, I still have conversations very briefly with some members that are still in the general chat of Lionheart or the Third Crusade, and they'll recognise me. So I've left some legacy, but then it's sort of bittersweet. But ultimately, I'm happy. I spent a good amount of time. It was like 2-3 years, back and forth. Don't know how long I actually stayed in a group, to be honest, but it's been good. Been a good time.
Ali Pars, you similarly retired and left, and then I recruited you to come build, and your first project was Baghdad. And I built the mosque, and you and Zach built the city. So you've been doing a lot of level design work, but not really much as a player. Obviously, Ali's been building all the new cities you see in the game, with the exception of Montreal. Ali's been the one building and putting all this time into. What's it like now, reflecting on your time as a player? Because Lionhearts is a lot different than the Third Crusade. So when you're building, when you're going through things, do you really think of yourself as a leader who would be using this base, or do you just think about it purely from a development as a job?
I wish I wish I saw it from a leader's perspective, but the truth is I don't. I really just see it as a creative, not even as a job. It's just I just see the map, um, as it is.
Yeah.
There is really no, there is. It's pure passion behind the creation of these maps. There is no, and maybe there should be a little bit of strategic thinking behind the creation of them. But the truth is what I said.
And what do you remember about your time as a leader?
A shit ton of animosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
That's
lot
true.
of fights.
That
It
is
was
true.
intense, dude. It was intense. I mean, I don't know how the genre is right now, how the culture is, how much intensity there is now between leaders and stuff. But back then, dude, Jesus fucking Christ. Like
Yeah.
we
Well, you
Okay.
you dated.
I remember my first battle ever. The first road battle I ever had. And when we had that road battle, I didn't even know that we were fighting over Jerusalem. I just thought, oh yeah, we're fighting. Okay, cool. And I come in and yeah, there's a story behind that. But basically, long story short, Jamie and Mythander team up behind my back and they trick me. They trick me. And suddenly I've lost something that I didn't know I had. Jerusalem has slipped underneath me, and I'm like, what the fuck? I have no Jerusalem. Did I even have Jerusalem from the start? What the fuck?
Boy.
And then, yeah, dude. And I actually remember that night. I was like, I actually messaged you with. I was like, dude, I'm gonna quit. Fuck you. And he was like, no.
That's right. I forgot how often we would betray each other because we would like tell each other, "Oh yeah, we'll be fine. We're not going to ally." And then like me and Jamie would ally against you at the road battle, or I would tell Jamie I'm allying with him and then I would actually ally with you. And so there were always these double crosses and it was very dramatic. And then you never really knew the day of the road battle what was going to happen, so you just had to be prepared. And they used to be, what I remember about them is that they were very fun, very intense, and dramatic. And I guess to speak to your point, you've dated yourself a little bit by saying it's a genre. Like nobody calls it a genre anymore; it's a game. Yeah. So the leaders I see today behind closed doors, they're pretty friendly, but in public, there's that animosity. Whereas before, I don't think you two could have been in a call with each other without it getting heated. There was even some memes about like discussions between you two, just with people yelling at each other and it just like throwing chairs across the room and doing all sorts of ridiculous stuff. Jamie, do you think you two could have gotten into a call and discussed things civilly, or was it too emotional and dramatic back in the day?
I think that's the one thing I regret about that whole situation, was because me and Ali, before he took over, was it the Byzantines or the Ayyubids?
It was
I was
actually
quite
the
close.
Seljuks. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I said it was actually the Seljuks first, and then it was the Byzantines,
yeah.
and then the Ayyubids. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Ali was at ACEA around the same time I was, and we'd spend time at like Masyaf together, and we were absolutely fine. There was no animosity there. It's just, as soon as you get that position of like leader, like as soon as there's a bit of leadership involved, it all flies out the window. All flies out the window, and it was, that was the one thing, because I think looking back on it, like me and Ali were quite, like, we were all right, and then it was just I think it with me, it stemmed from when I was in charge of the Ayyubids, and the way it was with Falux when he was the King Richard, and Dan, I think his name was, who had the Templars. It was like you had to sort of, in that time period, rally each other up to be like, oh, who's going to bring the most men? Who's going to back themselves? Do you know what I mean? I think that's where
Yeah.
it come from in the end, was that situation. But that's the one thing I do ultimately regret, is just like how toxic it would get.
Yeah.
Like it was funny. Like looking back on it, it was funny, but at the same time, like you said, like, oh, you might want to leave or shit like that. I thought that was a bit mad.
Yeah.
from that point of view. If that makes any sense.
So what did you? So you both. That was a great point too, which I hadn't forgotten, but I didn't really appreciate until now that both of you were serving under me in the Assassins before you became leader. Can Ali, maybe you start? Can you talk a little bit about what was it like being an assassin in ACA under me, and then transitioning to becoming a leader, and then I'll ask the same to Jamie.
Ooh,
Because
jeez.
and just for context, you both were there before the Third Crusade really was around. So it was a transitionary period where it was ACA Assassins, and then we got together with Grandmaster Paint, who I just spoke to the other day. He's doing well. We should have got him on the call too. That would have been great. So we got with Grandmaster Paint, who is the original Templar, and we made a genre together called the Third Crusade. And so we started to transition, and then you two became leaders. So that's the history of it. But speak on that transition and starting as an assassin under me. First, you, Ali.
Oh, it was interesting, man. I mean, starting off as an assassin was pretty easy because I spent 2 years in LAB before that.
That's right.
So that was, and I had already gained some experience with leadership in LAB, so it was pretty much smooth sailing just joining ACEA, but then taking over my own faction and like there was you put me in Anti-Crusaders, and there was pretty much no other active faction in Anti-Crusaders except mine, and mine wasn't even active. So like I had to start over from complete scratch, and it was fun because I got to lead, and I liked it. It was tough because I had to get new members. I had to start from zero, but that was the fun part. I mean, honestly, I don't have any particularly negative memories from it.
Is this when you met Harut?
No, I met Harut way back.
Okay.
Like, we're talking fucking.
Because he was Byzantine Emperor or second in command at one point.
Yeah, I don't know how he got in, but yeah, we worked together. We were close friends right before that, so he was a huge, like, I don't want to say asset, but like he was sorry, okay, I'm here. He really helped me out,
Yeah.
because he was one of, like, the most important thing to all of you young leaders watching, leading your factions. The most important thing you want to have in your faction is people you trust.
Yeah.
That's what I had with Boris. I trusted him 100%. I had probably 2 or 3 people that I could completely trust. That I could leave a whole army with. I could leave 10 people with them, and I would know that out of those 10 people, all of the 10, or at the very least 9, would remain after I would come back after an hour of training.
Right.
That's the most important thing, I would say.
Jamie, first you agree, and then tell us about your transition. First, because you were an assassin, I think longer. You were actually, I don't know if Ali ever made it to high rank sustained in ACA, but you certainly did, Jamie, and you were a high rank for a long time. So tell us about your assassin journey and then becoming a leader.
Well, I started off, I think it was like around the end of 2014, with the Epic Cookies, who is Dan, or however he goes by on Roblox now. But it was, we were playing at Obby, and we were just trying to find like an Assassin's game, and this, like, we couldn't find it, and then eventually we got to Masyaf, when it was just, I think it was just Kingdom Masyaf at the time, and that was it. And we do obviously we'd raid at that point, and eventually Dan was open to joining. I was a bit more hesitant because it wasn't for me ultimately. Like, obviously I served as high rank, but I think once I started getting into like the genre a bit more and getting used to obviously yourself and like other leaders, I think that was where that's where I was best fitted, because like mainly like at that time period, it was mainly just Spade or Spada Degli Assassin, whatever it was called, like the Italian. I can't speak Italian, like, but it was mainly that. It was mainly like
Belides
you'd
just
have the
Oh,
endorsed
hold on one
$1.
second.
You'd
We
I
just
shall
got
bring
a
back Jerusalem
sorry,
to
we
the
got a
Ayyubid Sultanate in honor of Ali Pars.
we got a TTS. I didn't want you to be interrupted. Belides, thank you for the
That's okay.
tip. He said, "I shall bring back Jerusalem to the Ayyubid Sultanate in honor of Ali Pars." Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Jamie, but I want to make sure that
Oh, it's okay.
yeah. So please
Nice.
continue. Thank you for this. Thank you for
Yeah,
the
so
donation, Belides.
I think back then it was mainly around that period, like early 2015. A lot of the members just wanted to be like the top dogs in the divisions. That's what it felt like. And once you got past that point, obviously at that time, Felix left, and I was like wanting to take over Spade, and then Adrianoff went to Byzantines. Felix went to the Crusaders of England, and that's when I put for I said I spoke to Adrianoff about it and I wanted to take over the Ayyubids. And as much as I enjoyed the time at ACA, looking back on it, I just felt like it was best suited in leadership or just even serving the genre at the time. Um, but I still enjoyed the time at ACA. It was just a case of once it started kicking off and all the factions come into it, that's when that was what I like loved at the time, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I sympathize with that. I never wanted to follow anybody. So if I had a chance to be a leader, which I did, I leaped at the opportunity, and held on to it. Now, just speaking about the past in general, there's been a lot that's gone on, and I want to go more into that. But first, just out of the interest of the viewers, and I'll just have Jamie continue and then hop back to Ali. You've played the game recently, Jamie, and Ali, obviously you work on the game, so you've been in it on and off, but not extended periods of time.
Yes.
What could you describe to it? Let's say you just take an average Lionhearts TTC player now. If you could summarize in just a few paragraphs what old TTC was like compared to now, what's the biggest difference? And what's the biggest improvement Lionhearts has brought?
I think the big one, like the massive one, is the massive amounts of development, massive amounts of like dedication from all members, past and current. Like there's so much going on now in terms of like community and ranking systems, and even like the detail into strategic battling. Like it's just a whole kettle, like it's a whole different kettle of fish. Like it's just back in the day. I can remember we had obviously Jaffa, I think it was, and then we had Masyaf, and like, do you remember the raiding system of like Damascus and Jaffa and all? Like it was insane. Like even just trying to get into like the bases was like a massive pain. With like I think we were limited to like 30 members at the time. 30, I don't know if we actually hit 50 or 100. But I'd say it just is like the community. I think we've still kept old members sort of, and obviously they've moved over to developing and helping out in the community as well. And now it just feels massively just improved. It still has that same the Third Crusades feel, if that makes sense to it. With like the members you see, or like the way the game looks. It's just literally, I think it's just without. I don't know how to describe it. It's just literally better. That's the best way I can put it.
You
Like I'm
still
obviously
see the core of TTC in it.
so yeah, definitely. I still feel like it has a lot of the values that we wanted to keep with the Third Crusade. Um, it's just sort of, I don't know. I'm completely at that point where I played it. I obviously play both. recently played Lionheart on my laptop, which is absolutely awful, and it was an absolute pain to get around. But just even like the storyline and the detail, and then obviously going to Jerusalem, and even like there was loads of stuff that like you like even little things that I can think of, like the horses that we'd obviously talk about, and it'd be like, oh yeah, it's next in the development, or even like just a teleport. I remember in the Third Crusade when we had the uniform GUI, where every time you died, I mean, you had to reselect your uniform. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you remember them days? Like,
Yeah,
that's
that's right.
that's what we were playing with, and
Yeah.
I just feel like now there's so much better detail, so much has changed, but definitely for the better, if that makes any sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Ali, let's move it over to you. Same question.
I mean, I would agree with Jamie. I would say the core values are still there. We're still, we're not bending to all the, we've still kept all the religions in. We've still kept all the cultural stuff in, which I think is really important. I think the biggest change, I don't know if my comment would be accurate because I don't play the game, but I think it would be one, the size of the game. Okay, the game is massive. It's probably the biggest game on Roblox. And honestly, technology, like how, like as Jamie said, like what was it like when every time we respawn, we had to pick a new outfit every single time, and it would take like 1 minute to pick a new outfit. Now it's just you pick your outfit once and it's all done, and it's just I don't think new players can appreciate. I mean, maybe they do, I don't know, but I don't think they can appreciate how developed the game really is, and how well rounded it is, in all aspects. I think it's just really that, and I think the concept of the road battles, it has kind of transformed right into what we have now, which is region battles.
That's a good point.
Which
I could
is
tell.
beautiful.
I mean, you two were kind of gone during that era. I could tell you what happened was,
Yeah.
So road battles were by far the most loved part about old TTC because it was basically the only thing that happened outside of social events. So
Yeah.
and trainings maybe for factions. So when we first made Reforged, what we did instead is that each tower at the road would connect directly to an individual base. Whereas in old TTC, there were only 4 towers in the map that connected to a handful of bases each. So, for example, if I went and captured Saladin's camp, I could attack Damascus, Constantinople, a bunch of different maps that the anti-Crusaders held. If I went and captured King Richard's camp, I could attack Jaffa or Karak, whatever the Crusaders held. So in Reforged, we said, no, we're going to make a strong... Each tower at the road is going to represent a base. So as soon as you capture that tower, you can attack the base. And what it happened was that really fun, quick battle exchange where you could lose a tower, and of course it sucked, but it wasn't that consequential because you could retake it before the end of the battle, was lost. Because as soon as you lost your tower, your base could be attacked. So that's what we did in TTC Reforged, and it didn't really work. And so what happened is we thought of the idea of Magnetarum, which is how can we bring back that fun, exciting aspect to this new world where we have so many more bases and so many more factions. And we just said, we got to get rid of the road and make this massive map full of garrisons. So now instead of, 30 towers, we have 120 garrisons, and the strongholds of the garrisons are what connect to the bases. So we kind of evolved that idea into something a little more sophisticated and scalable, which, to your point, I think is still it's if somebody old TTC played it, it'd be like, oh, this is like a region, this is like a road battle. They even still call them RBs because they're region battles. So when people say, hop on the RB, I'm like, oh, the road battle. But no, they mean region battle. But it's so funny. So when we released Magnetarum, we got back to that, and actually it was so exciting when we had the garrisons at first that we had a huge wave of activity in Magnetarum, and people like Katie Lee and some other people, it was on all the time. It was 24/7 when we first released it. People were on it all the time. They burned themselves out, and a lot of people left because they were so burned out because it was fun, but you can't just do it all day. So we've evolved now where instead of a once a week battle like we used to have, although I've played with the idea of doing that again, the region battles are open for 90 minutes every 12 hours. And that's what the community has basically almost unanimously voted that this is the best way to do it so that people in different time zones have the best chance to participate. So 12 hours off, 90 minutes on, 12 hours off, 90 minutes on. And then sieges and stuff are still separated, and we added a pitch battle. So that I just wanted to speak on that because neither of you were around during that initial Reforged period, so you wouldn't know. No, actually, we got rid of that, and we tried something else, and then I realized, no, the brilliance of the Third Crusade was actually that road battle connection. I could just remember how fun, first of all, Link Swords, the idea that I could be sitting in the Crossroads Tower, and then Jamie marches down with a platoon of men. I'm hiding. I jump down, and I can wipe out the whole platoon if they don't see me in a second because Link Swords are so deadly. And it was so, or you attack Masyaf, and we're on our parachutes, and we're jumping down and assassinating people as they come up. It was like the simplicity was quite beautiful.
Yes.
So I loved, and
Do
it
you
was
rem-
heartbreaking to move away from that, but I loved old TTC.
Do you
Yeah,
remember
me
back
too.
in the day when we had the Hidden Blades, and then you would parachute, and if you bought the Game Pass for Hidden Blade, you couldn't avoid dying. So you literally just died, and you couldn't do nothing about it. Like you literally you'd see an assassin, you'd be trying to take like Outlaw or something, Massive or Outpost, sorry, Massive Outpost. You go in there, you'd see one of them on top of on top of the just parachuting in. All of a sudden, you're getting hidden bladed. You can't avoid it. And you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, I've got to start over from Galilee, and then that's it. It was
Oh my
so mad,
gosh.
but like that's the
There
level
We-
that it used to be at.
We need to bring that back for an active skill with like a dagger, like an air assassination, because people don't know, you would be frozen in place. If somebody got
Yes.
above you with a hidden blade, you're done. There's nothing you can do. You would freeze. And there was some even funny glitches. If somebody was like 1,000 studs in the air, you'd be frozen for seconds, and then you just go, and it would, and you just die. It was oh my gosh, it was so fun. And the parachutes really allowed for, like, if you got up to a tall, you could go on the mountains and like flank positions. It was really brilliant. It was really brilliant. Yeah. And what I guess I'll get a little analytical here. Obviously, we moved away from it for a reason. Just, I think we maxed out the potential of that model. Why do you guys think that model? We love it. We think about it so fondly. It was very fun and it had its limitations. As a game developer, what I saw was, okay, great, we can have some activity, but this is never going to go to the front page. This is never going to take the next step unless we really fundamentally change it. Why did the TTC model not scale past a certain point? I'm going to ask Jamie first, and then Ali, I'd love your answer as well.
I think there's massive factors when it comes to the old TTC model. When you think about the whole community loved the idea of linked swords, and it was the case of you could go into auto duels. I think it was at the time. You could train.
Yeah.
You always had there was always some sort of skill to hone and get better at, and it was unanimous in the Roblox community. Like everyone used that type of sword. Obviously it was coded differently wherever you went. But it was that was it. Like that is what that was the main thing I think for a lot of players was, especially when we look at like the transition from Link Swords obviously to the customized, which I think I was partially around for, I witnessed. I feel like that was one thing. I think we also lost some really good leaders that probably should have stayed, or at least like stayed around to help either manage or maybe help out in the community. I think we did, like a lot of people dropped off, obviously within their own reasons to drop off. Maybe it was burnout, maybe it was the case of personal reasons, but I think when like if you look at the team now, like you got Andrew who's around for a very, very long time. Obviously Ali yourself as well. Like it's full of people that have been around for a good amount of time. It just needed that step in that time period where we were having like deep, really, really good builds. I think if people stayed a bit longer, obviously the activity would have like picked up, potentially maybe snowballed, and it would have been the case of maybe better scripters come in when they see the potential of the genre, and then that's when we get to like that next step, because it was really that point when Eva came in, and that's when we started to proper elevate and improve. If that makes any
Totally,
sense.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ali, so
Yeah.
what do you see as the limiting factors that kept TTC from snowballing and exploding? Old TTC. So let's just separate Lionhearts from it. At the time, you know, what element limited, like, kept TTC small? And it was, I mean, relatively, it was pretty active as far as genres go on Roblox. But when you compare it to a game on Roblox, like Adopt Me, obviously it's been dwarfed. So what element of the genre of TTC kept it from growing?
I mean, look, it's hard to put a finger on it. I mean, it's not about one factor, it's about multiple factors. But what I could say is this, and I think I would have the same answer for the Lionhearts, the TTC to Lionhearts question too.
Okay, yeah.
It would be, how can you scale something that's not optimized for scaling? You know, like TTC
Yeah.
was a genre made for how many people? Like max 100. Like you couldn't even join. You couldn't even put more than 50 people in the servers back in the days.
Yeah.
So there was a technical limitation to it, obviously, but I think it's really hard to put a finger on it, because the reason to why we've been able to scale the game so much is because over the period of all these years, we've been able to put in all of these small little things.
Yeah.
To optimize the game so that there is space for more people to come in. Now
Yeah.
that's me saying, mind you, I don't play the game, so this is just me taking an
Sure.
overview look of the whole thing.
Sure.
But I just think it's really, I think the game right now is just optimized for more people, especially with the combat. For example, with the combat system. As you said, linked swords were super deadly. Like, and if you have a person who trains a super deadly weapon, in 6 months, he becomes super, super deadly. So they imagine the noob comes in, and he has to fight this super elite guy. It's tough. I mean, I don't know if that was a good example.
No, I'd love to speak on that a little bit, because if people who aren't familiar with, like, you might have used linked swords, but I don't think Roblox ever knew how much potential linked swords had as far as skill curve goes, because there was zero progression in old TTC as far as experience and damage. Unless you bought a Game Pass, everybody had the same stuff. Yeah. And you didn't need to buy a Game Pass to be really deadly. Like, the Game Passes obviously were OP in some ways.
Yeah.
But the skill was your actual training and ability with a link sword. And so what actually you had was a brilliant meritocracy of people who would train with these swords for hours and hours and hours and get really good without having any extra damage or abilities. And link sword's kind of like a glass cannon model. Like, you make one bad move, you're dead. Where today, you could argue it's still very punishing, because you can get parried and just get annihilated. And there is a discrepancy because of experience now, where if you're a noob coming into Lionhearts, you're going to get destroyed by a high-level player. But that was already how it was, unless you knew how to use linked swords, because noobs were literal fodder. Somebody with a linked sword could take out 20 people in a row, because if they knew how to use it and they didn't, and it was actually so rewarding, and it was so it was really just so fun to just show your skill, like, dodging and just doing like all this stuff. And like, I had this really annoying tactic. You guys remember, I would let somebody chase me, and then I would hide behind a corner, and then I'd go back from around the corner and just instantly kill them. And it worked like every time for some reason. So like I had a very cowardly fighting style, but I would get crazy KD ratios because you could trick people, and it was so good. I remember maybe the best one I ever fought in the genre was he was a Hospitaller. Do you guys remember? It wasn't Nablus, it wasn't Shovel. It was his second in command, and this guy was so good, and the only way I could kill him was by sneaking up on him. And we had some legendary battles. But just to speak to that was there was such a fun element to the Link swords. But I still think that discrepancy in skill is now just discrepancy in skill and experience, so it's still there. But it's an interesting point to kind of discuss. So I'm glad you brought that up, Ali. I think.
I mean,
oh, go ahead, please.
no, I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, that's one of the massive big differences between the game now and the game then. It would be the combat.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it's when I first. I said I'd never played a directional combat game, but I said I want our combat to be directional because I really wanted it to be skill based. If you guys remember, anybody mentioning animated swords would get hanged. It was so hated back in the day. Like, they're like, don't touch our Link swords, because you had these Rome genres with these animated swords that would just do like a basic 3 animations, and there was no skill. Yeah. There was no skill curve whatsoever. It was just button mashing, and people were like, that sucks. Why would we ever do that? So I said, okay, let's do a directional model that actually still has skill. And actually now you guys wouldn't know because you haven't really played that much, but some of the people with our swords have incredible skill. I mean, fighting people like Omar and Egoist, they can parry you. They have human reaction speed that is just insane. And just the 4 directions adds an element of complexity that's very difficult. And it's actually been a challenge just getting people to learn the combat because it is complicated. But I really do love that skill element because, as you mentioned, you guys can remember, people hated the idea of just having anything but Link swords. And when you're making a medieval game, it's hard to make a medieval game when there's only one weapon. You couldn't add a spear. You couldn't add a warhammer or a battle axe because they would just suck next to a Link sword because Link swords were so overpowered, to such a ridiculous extent. Amy, what's...
I actually remember...
No, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, please.
No, actually, I was just going to say, I remember, after I quit TTC, I did start my own group, right? And I thought about that, having multiple weapons. But I still wanted to keep the linked swords aspect. So we added a linked spear. And everybody would abuse it.
Yeah, because it was just a linked sword with more range. So there's no balance. Basically. It's impossible to balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had to delete it the day after.
You can't balance a weapon that can kill you in less than a second.
Yes.
Like, you can add ranged weapons. So we had the throwing knife lines. Remember, we would get the assassins would have these giant wedges, and we'd throw knives, and people would just come in like fodder through the Mossyoff Canyon and just get dismantled. And then if they got close, Spade would jump off the mountains and assassinate them and act as a front line. It was actually very sophisticated. We had like a V formation of people with knives, and then people would flood in towards it. They'd get decimated by the knives. And then if anybody got through, we had Spade sprinkled out that would just... So the strategy was there, actually. There was a lot of use of formations and strategy, and that's actually been... Some people think you can't actually do formations in current Lionhearts. Jamie, what's your fondest memory of playing old TTC? If you had to pick just one memory you have that really... And maybe it doesn't even have just a memorable one. It doesn't even have to be something that was enjoyable.
I think mine was initially joining the Ayyubids and speaking to like the old Sultan. I think his name was Sultan Salahuddin. I think his name was, and listening to how much he cared about the group and how much like how much love he had for the group. I don't know what he's doing nowadays, but like he's someone I'd like definitely need to put on for an interview.
I miss that guy. We
he
called him
was-
Salad.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that was the mad time, like the time, because I think that period of me being the Sultan really is my fondest memory of the genre, just because I come into it and obviously you had Prince Falux, you had Dan, and
Dan.
then obviously you had the hospitality who would still rally about maybe 5 on 5 to 10 members on a good day. And I think the shit like the trash talk that used to come with it from Dan and from Falux back in the day, where they'd be like, "Oh, you're not gonna like." I think we initially just took, or Jerusalem had just opened, and you gave it to me to start off, and I remember Falux saying, "Oh, well, I'm gonna take it next road battle," and then obviously he didn't take it. And I'm still undefeated, but you know, it was that moment. I think that period, as like salty or not salty, sorry, as toxic as it was, I think that period for me just like sticks out.
Definitely.
Obviously, because I think the Richard time, I think it got too toxic from obviously my end, and it wasn't really an enjoyable experience. And I just kind of like crashed out and was just like burnt out from the whole
Yeah.
arguing and the way it turned out. But like definitely the Ayubid sticks out.
Yeah, I remember that as well. Ali, fondest memory, old TTC.
Hands down, the first rope battle I had to lead. Hands down, dude. This is actually a very fun story. I'm gonna summarize it so everybody hears, because basically what happened was this is basically when I don't remember if it was the Byzantines or the Ayyubids, but I basically took over the anti-crusaders, and we were gonna have our first rope battle. And I don't even think I've had a rope battle before. I mean, maybe once or twice as an assassin, so I didn't really know how anything played out, really. And as I said earlier in the podcast, I didn't know that Jerusalem was. I didn't know anything. I literally just threw myself into the whole thing. I was like, oh, I didn't know we were fighting over Jerusalem. I didn't know why we were fighting. I was just fine. I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
So I prepared the biggest army ever, and we were all ready. And then Jamie comes to me from nowhere, and he's like, "You know what, Ali? You know this myth guy is, you know, he's really not. He's really a cunt. You know, let's just team up on him."
That sounds like something he'd say.
He didn't say I can't, but yeah, he said, let's just team up on him together. And I was happy because I didn't know anything. I was like, I need some guidance, you know, Jamie's experience. I can trust him. He's been, you know, he was my leader in ACEA back in the day. I think he promoted me to maestro or whatever. So yeah, he said, let's team up. And I was like, okay. And the plan was that me and Jamie would flank Myth, right? That was the plan. We would flank the assassins. The KOJs, anti-traders, flank assassins. So the plan was I would flank first, and then Jamie would flank second. We come in, I flank first, Jamie flanks me. The Myth flanks me. I'm like, what the fuck is... Then oh my god, dude! Oh my god! I didn't even know what we were supposed to do after that. So I think you guys took over. You won the roll battle. Then we had the base battle, right? And I didn't even know that we were supposed to teleport to the base. So I was just staying there with my men, and like maybe 45 seconds passed by, and it's like assassin victory or whatever, or fucking KOJ victory, and I'm like, huh? Fuck, what happened? And then then after I spammed Myth, I was like, what is this? And I spammed Jamie. I was like, you
were really mad. I remember.
How dare you? And well, yeah. Oh my god, dude.
I remember this now that you tell the story. Yeah, me and Jamie pulled a fast one on you for sure. That's so funny. And that's just like one for people listening. That's one instance that would happen every week. Something like that would happen where someone would get betrayed. No one trusted anybody because we all had betrayed each other. Yeah, that's amazing. I remember. I'll share one of my memories. This was even before you guys were leaders. This is when me and Grandmaster Paint just started, and the road was just one line of outposts to capture. There was not like, it was 1/4 the size. So there was a route from Masyaf to King Richard's camp, and that was it. So there was no back capping, no flanking. And it basically what happened is that both armies would meet like this, and we had like, I want to say it was at least 6 hours. It was 6 to 12 hours of battling where it was just a stalemate at Galilee, and we would just keep going over and over. It was just a battle of wills for 6 straight out. Yeah, Jamie remembers. You would just bash on each other, and that's why we really wanted to make it so the map actually had, some flanking abilities, which is, something like now there's a lot of flanking potential. But before, you had these, it was like Thermopylae, it was like 300. You had these narrow passages, and you would just, and sometimes like all your men died and you were the only one left, and you just see like an army of Templars coming on, and somehow you'd manage to hold them all off, and you felt like a superhero, and you just get fatigued, and it just was. And I think at the end of the battle, not like we just ended it. Nothing happened. Nobody won because we were just going at each other head on for that whole time. And that's really what kicked off TTC was that battle of just one line, me and Paint coming up with this idea. What if, because before this, you have to remember, before TTC, there were no genres. TTC was the first genre. So you would find somebody that owned a Roblox group and had their own base and their own scripts, and you would war them. And you would hope and pray that they wouldn't admin abuse you, and that the base that you went to wasn't completely unfair, and that, like, I remember one base we raided, Crimson Blood Empire. The base was impregnable, but you had to do an obby through a lava field to get into the base, and the obby was almost impossible. And so it was, and then they would just admin abuse even if you got close, and it was really difficult and unfair. So Paint and I was like, okay, we don't like each other. You're a Templar, I'm an assassin, but let's just make a genre where there's shared scripts and shared rules and no admin abuse. And that was the revolutionary idea that's led to Lionhearts, is actually adversaries coming together and agreeing on a terms of principles and rules. Because as toxic as it was when Jamie and I would betray you, at least it was somewhat fair compared to being admin abused, and somebody has a bunch of weapons that you don't. And I mean, Masyaf wasn't that fair. You could get, people had hidden blades, but compared to what was out there, I mean, there was some ridiculous, I mean, VAC, for instance, back in the day, you would have to actually buy a Roblox gear that would tornado you over the walls, and there was no way to actually win the raid, so you'd have to sneak up and glitch through walls to get to their microphone room, and you just say, we won the raid. And that's how you won the raid back in the day. And so it was really a chaotic time. But that first battle, just like, what if instead of raiding other like going to the website, what if you had to walk from your base to a base that was in between, like the road, and you had to walk through your enemy's territory to attack their base? That was the core idea. And you can look on the Roblox forum archive and see my post from 2012 or 13, where I'm pitching this road project idea where you'd have to walk to your opponent's base. And to this day, walking is the principal element of Lionhearts. So, we've arrived.
Wow.
So,
oh my God.
What if you could go back? Let me ask this. Obviously, we're all getting very nostalgic, and it's very fun to think about the old times. If you could bring back TTC for one day, would you do it? And what would you do?
Oh, yes. Sorry, do you want to go ahead,
yeah,
David?
No, go, Ali.
Oh, fuck yes. I mean, what would I do? probably trick Jamie and just get my revenge.
Yeah.
Probably do that. I mean, it's hard to say, man. It was just honestly, I don't know because I'm obviously we're not the same age as we were back then, so we don't know if we would get this. We would actually get the exact same experience as we would back then, but it would certainly be fun. I would just I'd just conquer everything if it came back. I would take a bunch of men, everybody, all the old guys I knew that were 13 back then are like fucking 22, 30 now. I'd bring them in. I'd have a before the day that we restart TTC. I would have like a little 1 hour training with linked swords again, and everybody with their muscle memory would come back, and then we would destroy everything.
Jamie, would you let that happen? Or would you are you too scared to lose your undefeated streak that you wouldn't want this happening at all?
I come back several times to try and to see if anyone could test me. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like I think I'm at that point where I'd love it to come back to the way the principles are, like the way, sorry, but I think the game's so much better now. I don't know. I think I'd love to come back. I always had this like vision of bringing that many men to where I could take out the assassins and the anti-crusaders at the same time, and then split them up and raid both bases. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I tried to aim for. But obviously, it didn't work. But that, I think if I was to bring it back, it would be to literally go back to the road with maybe 150 men and just go straight through to Masyaf, straight through to Damascus or Jerusalem, and take every one of them out and then bounce. But like that'd be the only way I'd probably think about it. Obviously, I do want to come back to the group and the community in some way in the next couple of weeks, and that's
Yeah.
my goal. Because it has been a long time out, and I do definitely like miss the times and miss everyone that's been around. So definitely want to come back and get back into it.
It was pretty tragic the way TTC ended. The a lot of people don't know, but the scripts had deprecated to a point where they're basically not able to be edited or fixed with the expertise we had at the time. And so even when we put TTC Capsule up, which you can still go play, and all the places have been preserved, and you can teleport to them, and you just walk around with a link sword, and you can see them as they really were back then, and that's under the group page. You can see that. None of the scripts, like the Road Battle scripts or the Hidden Blade scripts, work anymore, and it was just impossible to get them to work in a reasonable time frame. So people ask, like, "Oh, just add the place back with the scripts," and unfortunately, it's lost, and it's stuck in the memories, and all we have now is Lionhearts. And I've learned a lot of lessons just reflecting on this, reflecting on. Gosh, we had some fun. It was really quite engaging. I guess a question for both of you, Jamie. I'll start with you. You mentioned burnout, and this is a problem that's plagued both TTC, Reforged, and Lionhearts, which is just, my perception is the game is so intense and demanding that it demands a lot of you. And so even though it's very fun, at a certain point, you just get exhausted and you want to go do something else. Is that the critical issue we're facing here, and how would you fix something like that?
I think that is the massive issue. I think that's like what I alluded to earlier was we lost leaders that probably would have stayed around, who ended up going into stuff that was just, or like, do you remember the Game of Thrones dramas like back in the day?
Yeah.
Like that's a prime example, like just awful communities, toxic communities, and you'd give up what was a very good project, a very good leadership role. Obviously, the tech at the time, although it was bad compared to now, it was still advanced. Even like obviously the building was advanced. I think the burnout for me stemmed from, at the time, like my leadership, like it all stemmed from going to GRP and practically getting members to come like straight away, like speaking to the members and then getting them to come to Damascus or go to Jaffa or go to the road and see what we had compared to other groups. And I think that for me was a big problem because I'd spend 4 or 5 hours of my day every day trying to recruit and build members up to where we could have good road battles or we could have training sessions. I think that for me was a big part of the burnout. But then I think it was the case of bits of toxicity, which obviously I created myself at the same time. But I don't know. I think obviously it is still a prominent issue at the moment, but I think we just solved that by bringing more sense of community events. Obviously, I've heard you speak about fishing and other aspects of the game that just evolve it to another level. And I think that's what we are missing at the moment. Is just like stuff to switch off. Like obviously ranked and the battles and everything. It's a lot. It's very combat heavy. It's very involved. You're fighting other people. It just needs that sense of something else to build
Mm.
to keep members alive. Obviously, I think Rada and members like Hasteful as well, them coming into it, like old members and hearing their stories and speaking to them as well, they helped as well because you'd have a good sense of community within there. And I think that's what we have kind of lost a little bit in sense of we've seen a lot of like old the Third Crusade leaders, high ranks that have just dropped off and nowhere to be seen, and the prominent people in the community. Um, and I think the genre, like losing them as well. I think the new leaders now kind of need them around, like the same way kind of like I enjoyed hearing about Rada back in the day of the ACA. That helped me kind of stay, if that makes any sense, because it was kind
Yeah.
of like sort of started from this. It was like the way it was, and like even just speaking and communicating to people, and just having a laugh as well. Um, but yeah, it's definitely still an issue, and it's not really one that is very easily solved because I think it will be wherever you go in any community, they probably feature the same issue of burnout. But it was quite it's quite interesting to talk about and to try and tackle as well because I think we do need to try and keep members in the group, keep people invested, and it is, as we said, just a case of switching off and doing other stuff in the community.
Yeah, I think before I swing it over to Ali, I think that's a really good point that if you disagree, say so. Lionhearts and Third Crusade is a really radical idea of using it's all player run. So the players run the hierarchy and the economy and the factions and all that. And that's really creative and cool. And so the heights of that are super high, but it also puts a ton of responsibility on the players to the point where it can feel like a job, especially when you don't have a lot of players coming in. There's an immense weight on leaders in high ranks to make their faction active. And that can turn the fun elements into like, this is a job. This is no longer a game. This is a job for me. And I came here to play a game. So that's a really good point, Jamie. I really appreciate that. And from everything I've been talking to other people about, I do think that that fishing, hunting, farming, like actually having in-game jobs that are not related to combat is what is needed to bring Lionhearts to the next level. So that's a right on. I appreciate that point. I totally agree. And I want to get Ali's input as well. You've seen it from a developer's perspective for a long time. Obviously, Jamie, you were a great developer as well. He built several mosques and churches and different things across the game. He's a very, very good builder. In the recent years, Ali has been doing a ton of heavy lifting with that. So as a developer and being integrated with the teams, do you agree with Jamie and I's assessment, or would you go in a different direction as far as what creates this burnout? Is this the number one issue, and how would you solve it?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think you really made a good point when you said players might feel like it becomes more of a job than a game.
Yeah.
I think we just really need to take a step back and just look and like analyze. Okay, what is burnout? It's basically when what you did, which was rewarding before, is no longer rewarding. Right? that could be a definition of burnout.
Yeah.
So then the question is, how can we make the game more rewarding, right? And then I mean, you could nerd it out in a bunch of different ways, right? On how to make the game more rewarding. There is ethical ways to do it. There is unethical ways to do it. There is a lot of games that do it unethically. There is a concept that I read about a few months ago, which is called what's it called? It was called random scheduled rewards. So the idea is you design the game in a way where you get rewarded randomly, so you don't know when you get rewarded. This is the concept slot machines actually use in casinos to get people hooked. Fortnite uses it with I think looting boxes. I mean, I don't play Fortnite too much, but like you just basically get a random weapon, right?
I think Fortnite actually has a very complicated algorithm, because what happens is when you first play, they'll put you up all against bots. So unless you're really bad, you'll win. And then they slowly increase the difficulty by substituting bots with players. So the first time, they don't tell you they're bots. And then you're like, oh my God, I won my first time playing, or I got second place. And so you get that exhilarating feeling and you want to go back for it. And then what they do, if you haven't played in a long time, they'll do that again. So when you play, you get hooked again.
Yeah.
So
that's all. Sorry.
No. So it's a little different than what you're describing, but I see your point.
Yeah. I mean, that's all neuroscience. That's all dopamine, dude. It's like once you get a win, even if it's a small win, your dopamine goes up, and you're excited. You want to do more, and you want to do more. And that's basically the concept.
Yeah.
If we can figure out an ethical way, right, a proper way to integrate that solution.
I think you cut out for a second. I think you cut out for a second there, Ali.
The game needs to be fun. That's the reward is fun, right? So if we can,
Ali's roboting a little bit here. We're gonna let him reconnect. I think I get the essence of his point, but he's cutting out a little bit.
And for the game to be called way, I'll be back in a second.
Okay, it seems to be stable now.
Yeah, I think you sound now.
I'm back.
Okay, so highlight what you just said in a couple sentences.
The game needs to be fun, and for the game to be fun, it needs to be rewarding. So if we can figure out an ethical way to integrate systems that are rewarding, not just for a short period of time, but also, for an extended period of time, then the game is fun. And there is how can you burn out if something is fun?
I do feel like, well, I hopped on the game about a year ago, and I hadn't really played it in a long time. And as a developer, it's kind of, whenever I play the game, it can be stressful because you see it as a developer and you just see all the faults and all the things you want to fix. But I played on an alt account, so nobody knows I was, and I joined Hospitalers, and I got my level up XP up a lot, and I really had a fun leveling up. At some point, it did hit a point where I was like, okay, the burnout's there, and I do feel like something that was attaching my character to the world besides my weapon, like let's say a house that I could decorate or a job that I had to do that was not combat, I do feel like the experience would be a lot more rewarding than just combat. And so rewarding in other ways, and we've improved on this a lot. So I think it's getting better, and I want to still add more, first of all, content just through quests and things to do so it feels diverse, and then actual diversity as far as the things we've already mentioned.
Yeah, I agree. Diversity. I totally agree. I mean, I think things get stale when you do the same thing over and over again. And I guess that's the beauty of the game right now.
Yeah.
I mean, back then we didn't have that much to do. I mean, all you really could do in the genre back in the day was join the base and use your linked sword and have fun and talk to people. That's pretty much all you could do.
Yeah.
And road battle, of course, right? But now there is, there are so many systems. I mean, there are so many stats
Yeah.
that you could upgrade.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree.
Just to go back onto that point though, like I really enjoyed the events that weren't obviously. I enjoyed more the events that were not battle based, and we had so many in old the Third Crusade. Like we did a hockey event at one point when I was like a low rank, or like we did a
Knife hockey.
hockey game.
Yeah, knife hockey.
An ice hockey game, and it was like and we all sat there on Discord, and we had I got demoted because of it, because I'm pretty sure I ran on there with like Rada, and like I don't know what happened, but I lost my rank because like I just took the piss in the end. But it was so
remember that.
good, like just sitting there in the like I don't think it was Discord, I think it was Skype at the time, and we're all there, or we're all just like talking, even if it was just on Skype, and we just do something silly like that. And it doesn't have to be that nowadays, obviously, but it could just be the sense of the case of something that isn't combat, something that takes our mind off battle. Because I feel like that's where the burnout will come from and stem
That's
from.
such a good example. That was so fun. And
Yeah.
we didn't even add any systems for it. And
Mhm.
the other day I went to on Easter, or it was Good Friday, I went to a mass at Acker, and there was nothing special as far as systems. And we don't even have priest outfits in the game anymore, but like just these people hosted a mass, and it was beautiful. And it was like I really appreciated it, and so we've added things like titles, and even just now we're as a little sneak peek for people listening, we're making it so when you walk by a guard, like an NPC guard, if you're a high rank, it will salute you and give you a custom greeting, or even bow to you if you're the king. So like stuff like that, I think goes a long ways, because at the end of the day, if the player feels immersed, he'll just have fun just with basic mechanics of chatting and role play and doing stuff like that. Whereas if the player doesn't feel immersed, it's just going to feel stale. So I think that's a really good point. Any final notes from either of you? What do you have to say? Final lessons learned, or anything? Any highlights? Ali, you can start.
Well, before that, if we have time, I actually wanted to ask you a question.
Okay, we do, but let's take a quick break, and we'll reconvene in
Okay.
2 minutes, and then we can keep talking. How's that sound?
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
And then you could turn the tables. All right, we'll be back in just a couple minutes, guys.
Because I need to go to the bathroom.
I'll be right back. We are back, everybody. Just had a quick break. Ali was about to turn the tables on me, so the interview's been flipped. Go ahead. I'll see if go easy on me. Let's see how it goes.
Jamie, I think me and you have to commend Mythander for being smart enough to pick me and you as leaders. Those many years ago, right? So my question really is, what was your thought process behind picking me and Jamie as leaders for, the initiation of your faction, or sorry, your genre, way back?
Well, there's two ways I could answer this. One,
Yes.
I could say I got lucky and I was just throwing anybody I could at the positions, but that's not exactly true. Some people might think that. The truth of the matter is, picking leaders in TTC and Lionhearts was a very, very difficult process for years, and we only just replaced it a year ago. You two might be vaguely familiar. Now you can elect leaders and coup and rebel, and so they rise up naturally.
Wow.
There are certain traits. We're not blank slates. Some people are born with leadership and some people aren't. That's just how it is. It's not something you can train. You can't condition somebody to want to lead if they don't want to. Both of you exhibit leadership qualities, and that was present by the fact that you weren't good at listening to orders. So you both were pretty rebellious and pretty headstrong, and those are two qualities that are actually necessary for a leader. For example, you both had no trouble telling me what you thought. You had no problem disagreeing with me. You need to be disagreeable to be a leader, or else you just get run over. There is an element of hubris and arrogance, or you could say confidence, if you want to put it positively, that somebody needs to have to be successful. Both of you have that sort of delusional confidence that is necessary. Because if you don't have that, there's really nothing that's going to drive it forward. So, and specifically, I see, and I put this positively, I see that in both of you. I see a lot of confidence. Jamie, you're just relentless. You just want, so when you want something, you just go after it. And that's really what I admire about you the most. Ali, you're similar, but you do it in a different way than Jamie. You're a little bit more calculated and reserved in ways that are quite impressive. Where I'm never really wondering what Jamie's thinking, because he's just very open and honest about where he's at, and that could be a good quality. But you're very good, Ali, at keeping your cards close to your chest at times, which can also be a good quality. So both of you were excellent picks for different reasons. I also saw those traits in the other leaders at the time. And so that's really what made me have that decision. And I do it again in a heartbeat. I think you guys were excellent picks.
Wow. Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man. That's crazy. Shit. And here we are.
Yeah.
10 years later.
That's the scary thing, isn't it? It's 10 years later.
Oh my God. Has it been
Yeah.
that long? Yeah. A lot of people don't know this has been a 10-year project.
Yeah. I don't think most people do. They don't know how old this whole project is.
Yeah.
This has been in development for this whole game has been evolving for years and years and years and years, and it's gone through so many different phases that I don't think people understand. I mean, if you're a new guy, right, and you don't know what we're talking about, just go on YouTube and type like the Third Crusade.
Yeah, you can look at there's a highlight video I posted or like you can watch an hour-long, Barracuda posted an hour-long road battle, and you can watch it, and it's really fun to watch. And he has an old Siege of Jaffa. So look up Barracuda's YouTube channel, or I posted a highlight reel of his too. It's just like 10 minutes long if you don't want to watch the whole thing. But you can actually see what it was like. And this was, I think, 7, 8 years ago, maybe more. So if you're curious, you definitely can look that up. At the end of the day, the game's changed. The systems have changed. Some of the people have changed. But I do like the element that TTC is still there. It's still underneath it all. And I think that's beautiful and important. I definitely believe that this game has massive potential, and I'm willing to keep working on it, as long as it takes to realize that potential, because I think it's not done yet. I don't view it, I feel it as an ongoing process, project, and we have a lot of problems to fix and things to add, and we're really happy with how far we've come, and we're happy to project that into the future as well as far as where we could go. I'm pretty optimistic, really. And even so, I can't share specifics, but the fact that I've been able to build a business around this game, despite the fact that it's never exploded onto the front page, that's because of the opportunities it's generated just on the merit of itself. People see it, and they see, this is a really unique game. This is a special game. And when you ask people why they come back, it's because of the community. That's what they say. It's the community. It's all that. We just got another endorsement from Infer. Let's listen
Infer
in.
just endorsed $1. Ali is best pick emo.
He says Ali is the best pick in my opinion. Thank you very much for the endorsement, Infer.
Thank you. Sure.
That's a good take. Ali was a great pick. They both were.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I'm really excited, and having you both involved in the project in some capacity. Even Jamie Eason is just like a player or a friend. That's awesome. And again, I think we've built a brotherhood here and a really strong community. And I would love to move Lionhearts towards more loving thing, like, just what can I make a house? Can I build something? It doesn't have to all be about fighting. We can come together and do other things. Because I do think that can lead to toxicity and burnout when you're just constantly, especially when it's real people. It's a battle of wills, and it can be very exhausting. And that's still happening. Luckily, we balanced it in a way that there's punishments for war, and there's ways that limit it. It's very complicated, and but we're moving in the right direction. And just the amount of volunteers and people that help us make this game possible, we're very grateful for. And I'm just very grateful to both of you, because you guys help make this stream possible through your development contributions, both of you. Ali, in the recent years, you've really gone off. Jamie, before then, you are one of the best builders that I've ever worked with, Jamie. You're very talented. Obviously, same goes to you, Ali. But also just your contributions as leaders and community members was really pivotal and huge, and helped us in a really important time. So thank both of you.
Thank you. I think I just want to, I mean, if we're close to the end, I just want to, end it with, I want to thank Big Boy Jamie for being such an amazing rival for the period we had together, and he's honestly a really cool guy, awesome friend.
Agreed.
There is a reason to why we can connect, so many years after, still on a live stream like this. And I would really, and I really would like to commend you, Colton, for doing this whole thing. I really want to commend you for your resilience. It's been years since we, started this project for you. It's been, how long has it been? It's been 4 years now, maybe, since we started with Reforged.
Yeah.
It's been a very long time, and it's been really, really, really tough.
Over 4 years now, yeah.
Yeah, and you really stuck with the vision, and you brought us all along with, for the journey, and it's been incredible. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but it's certainly been, a very, very unique experience. I think most or all, of the people who have been along in this journey can agree that this journey has been special, and I'm just really grateful for that.
Well, I couldn't have done it without you and all the other developers that have helped. So it's a reflection on the amazing community. It's a reflection on my partner, Zach, who's helped lead the company, who does a ton of work that gets unrecognized at home, that people don't see or recognize. And I get to be the face of it, but really it all goes to people like you, all the building work you've done, all the scripting work we've had from developers along the way that has just been huge. People working as volunteers just because they love the game so much. It wouldn't be possible without that. So
Absolutely.
it's really a result of just a huge team effort, and I'm just so grateful to everybody that's contributed.
Absolutely. Me too.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's been a fun 10 years almost of being around it all and seeing everything evolve and seeing all like everything come into fruition as well with the scripts, with the building, and it's been incredible. It's something I definitely want to stay around, keep around, and speak to and get involved in at some point as well once I sort myself out. But yeah, it's been incredible. And looking back and reflecting on it all as well, like there's so much that we still like. It's only like a drop in like it's only the tip of the iceberg. Like, there's so much that has happened that like has shaped the community into what it is now. Like it's incredible. Um, and it's been great to be alongside yourself, Myth, and Ali, and everyone else back in the day as well. It's just been phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie.
Absolutely.
You've been a great friend throughout the process. You too, Ali. So I'm really happy we did this. Hopefully, we can do it again. Maybe we'll get Harut, Grandmaster Paint,
Oh, yeah.
do a big old gen podcast, and maybe Katie Lee or
Totally.
somebody like that. Somebody who's been around a long time. That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would love that. Well, guys, we'll end it there. Thank you everybody for watching. We're gonna do a giveaway after, so stick around and give one last round of applause to the legendary Prince Jamie L and Ali, the two first kings of Jerusalem.
Winners.
Undefeated.
Winners,
Still undefeated.
winners indeed. I think some leaders might want to challenge you on that today, Jamie. Maybe you can come back. Thanks, guys, so much. We'll be right back for giveaways. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back. I have started the giveaway, so go ahead and hop in on that, guys. Last chance for the giveaway. Go, 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 go. Okay. I'm going to pick the winner. Winner is Caribbean Menace. Congratulations. Yes, you can. DM me on Discord. Sometimes you buy one ticket and you win. That's how it works. That's how it works. Awesome, guys. It was really fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked the interview, let me know. See you guys. Bye, 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 bye. Caribbean, you gotta DM me on Discord because I don't know what your name is. Okay, I found you. Done. All right, guys.